Welcome back, my awesome people. In today's episode, I will be giving you my predictions for what will happen with the stock market and the global economic market as a whole for 2024. After a shitty 2022, stocks soared in 2023, with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 jumping more than 20% and 50%. A resilient economy, moderate inflation, and the potential peak in interest rates helped investors overcome fears of a potential recession and jump back into stocks. Now, the biggest question investors have is whether the strong market rally can continue into 2024 and whether or not an economic slowdown and stock market crash is possible. From economic recessions to the continuation of the bull market, here's what I, Jacob Rant, expect to happen in 2024. But before I tell you my thoughts, here are a few thoughts and forecasts that major Wall Street firms are coming to for what will happen in 2024. First major firm is BCA Research. According to them, the market will be bearish in 2024 with an S&P 500 price target of 3,300. They believe that the S&P 500 could experience its worst crash since 2008 as a recession kicks off. A recession in the US was delayed this year, but not avoided. The stock market could avoid such a steep downfall next year if the Federal Reserve swiftly cuts interest rates. However, inflation will not slow quickly enough for the Fed to cut rates in time to prevent a significant rise in unemployment. Unless a recession occurs or inflation completely collapses, the Fed is unlikely to cut rates before the summer. And BCA Research said a recession next year will put the S&P 500 in a range of between 3,300 and 3,700 before an eventual rebound. The second major firm, JP Morgan, also has a bearish forecast for 2024 and believes that the S&P 500 will drop down to about 4,200. JP Morgan said high equity valuations, high interest rates, a weakening consumer, rising geopolitical risks, and a potential recession give it little confidence that stocks will move higher in 2024. Morgan Stanley, however, is neutral. With a price target of 4,500 for 2024, Morgan Stanley expects a flat stock market in 2024, but sees some pockets of the stock market performing better than others. The extremely narrow leadership of the mega cap tech stocks is likely to continue early next year, but eventually break down. According to the firm Morgan Stanley recommends investors to avoid the high-priced tech stocks and instead focus on defensive growth stocks, typically found in the healthcare, utilities, and consumer staple sectors, as well as late cycle cyclical stocks typically found in the industrials and energy. Another neutral forecast is from Goldman Sachs, which expects the S&P 500 to finish 2024 slightly higher from current levels at about 4,800, but will continue to stay flat. As higher for longer interest rates make valuations difficult to justify, Goldman Sachs forecasts are in line with primarily with earnings growth. The lack of strong profit growth leaves a dim outlook on the market overall. On the other side, Bank of America is bullish on the stock market in 2024 with a price target of over 5,000 because of how much progress the Federal Reserve has made towards tightening its monetary policy following more than a year of aggressive interest rate hikes and the ongoing reduction of its balance sheet. They are bullish not because they expect the Fed to cut rates, but because of what the Fed has already accomplished. And another bullish forecast is from Deutsche Bank with a price target of over 5,100. According to Deutsche, various economies are approaching a soft landing as inflation cools and GDP growth remains solid. And that's a great scenario for the stock market, hence why they believe it will be a bullish 2024. And even if a recession does happen in 2024, it shouldn't impact stock prices dramatically because most investors are anticipating it. The bank expects the S&P 500 to rise about 10% in 2024 to over 5,100. And if the economy dodges a recession, the gains could nearly double to about 20% in this bull case scenario. So, Jacob Rant, what is your 2024 forecast on the market and the economy? Well, my awesome people, Wall Street is split when it comes to whether the market will be bearish or bullish in 2024, with a lean towards bearish. Wall Street strategists are bracing for below average returns after a forecast-defying 2023 rally. But predicting 2024 could be extra difficult after a bullish 2023 that's left investors to worry about whether stocks can build on their gains as interest rate and inflation threats continue to linger. Remember, investors, you should take Wall Street strategists and forecasts with a grain of salt. Wall Street strategists broadly failed to predict the stock market rally of 2023, which has made many investors, both retail and institutional, sell their assets. If you are a crypto investor as well, I believe that crypto will have a positive run this year, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. But also be very careful with crypto because now that the Bitcoin spot ETF has been approved, crypto is now somewhat controlled by Wall Street. With most forecasts from Wall Street strategists suggesting a flat or single-digit return next year, history suggests otherwise. Since 1900, the historical distribution of yearly S&P 500 returns shows stocks advancing 10% or more 51% of the time. So the real question is, are we that lucky to be part of that 51%? Well, personally, I don't think so. There are too many factors at play here that will limit the growth of companies. Of course, higher interest rates and expensive borrowing and lending are the main drivers of a bearish market, but there is still the fear of global unrest that greatly affects the stock market as a whole. We have Russia and Ukraine still at war. In case you forgot, we still have the war between Israel and the Palestinian people, a war with Yemen just begun. We still have China trying to take over Taiwan and Hong Kong. We still have many Western countries who are in trillions and trillions and trillions in debt that could possibly default. We have banks going bankrupt and closing left, right, and center. We still have the leaders in the Middle East manipulating oil and gas prices. Food prices have skyrocketed, in which the average family is unable to afford. Countries are raising local taxes in the name of climate change and carbon tax. Businesses are either failing or laying off many of their employees, and rumors of the electric grid going to fail. The list just goes on and on. From the micro to the macro, 2024 will be a hell of a year, as most individuals will not be able to afford much of the things that they used to, which will result in people focusing on necessities and essentials and not on investing or luxury goods. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my awesome people, as we have only delayed the recession that was supposed to happen and have not avoided it. People are hungry out there. Debt is at an all-time high and still increasing, and the majority of people are losing control of their finances, which will create a panic sell of people pulling out the market, causing a crash. So if you want to be successful in 2024, continue to invest and average down your stocks. Make sure that you have an emergency fund in cash, and don't hesitate to pick up a second or third job, even if it is shitty, because money is money. And remember, my awesome people, just like all the information that I mentioned in my videos, assess your risk appetite, always diversify, and please do your own due diligence, because I am just a clown on YouTube. Stay ranting.